I recall hearing his guitar for the first time. It was like hearing the cosmos burst. Paul Stanley spoke about Ace Frehley after years of turmoil. They experienced friendship, strife, and quiet between the kiss and the years of separation. After Ace left, Paul stopped avoiding it. Once buried memories were revived in his writing. That memory tale is about to begin. Ace Frehley worked like a young artist throughout his latter years. See this. Origins Vol. 2, a 2020 cover album, tracked his musical roots. The project achieved number 66 on the Billboard 200, proving his creativity at 70. Reimagined songs were on the album, with a classic Kiss sound while retaining his own style in every riff. 10,000 Volts debuted in February 2024, for years later. New album placed 46 on Billboard 200, up from its predecessor. It was Ace's most focused project since Anomaly in 2009. His style evolved with songs like Walkin' on the Moon and Cherry Medicine, which combined old hard rock with new sounds. Paul Stanley said, "Good job, Ace." Fire persists. A man who had shared the stage in years of distance made the quick comment meaningful. The 10,000 Volts tour began in summer 2024 in hundreds of U.S. towns. The July Cedar Park, Texas event was memorable for fans chanting "Spaceman" throughout the encore. Ace's reappearance showed that he was still popular as a former Kiss member and an independent artist with a magnetic pull. By late September 2025, problems appeared. Ace tweeted, "Fans thought it was a minor accident due to his brief remark." Behind the scenes, his staff secretly delayed the tour itinerary and not disclosed specifics. Officially canceled the tour for medical reasons on October 6. His representatives said the situation was minor but needed cautious monitoring. Consequence, and people stated that he was hospitalized in New Jersey for interior therapy. Friends in the music industry posted vintage photographs of him on stage with his silver-smoked Les Paul as the Kiss Army prayed. Some intimate sources reported Ace was healing steadily on October 14, but no formal confirmation was issued. The final updates 2 days later confirmed that the miracle had not occurred. Paul Stanley spoke briefly but with great conviction, and the rock world went silent. Final catastrophe stunned the world. After 10 days of therapy for brain hemorrhage complications, Ace Frehley died in Morristown, New Jersey on October 16, 2025. The family told the press he died peacefully, surrounded by loved ones. News spread fast, quieting the global rock scene. The Kiss Army fans spontaneously posted photographs of the spaceman on social media in tribute. A few hours later, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons said Ace was irreplaceable to Kiss. "This legacy will always include him. We offer Jeanette Monique and his loved ones our sympathies." For years, Paul and Gene had not signed an official release. Their respectful treatment of Ace demonstrated that the previous distance had been replaced by silent acknowledgement. Paul wrote on social media that evening, remembering 1974 at the Hyatt at sundown and hearing a flaming guitar from an adjacent room. "Wish that man was in my band." I glanced across the balcony. It was Ace. The little post, a recollection, impacted rock fans worldwide. The 51-year circle of two men who made history together ended. "Ace was an immortal rock warrior," said Gene Simmons. "May his legacy endure." Gene's choice of immortal reflected Ace's musical career and a generation of artists that defied time on stage. Later that night, the Associated Press confirmed the terrible news, sparking global tributes. Ace's death marked the end of an era in American rock and the loss of a band member, according to global media. Within 48 hours, scores of radio stations broadcast his tunes from Shock Me to New York Groove. Many young musicians said he inspired them to play guitar. Fans in the Bronx, his birthplace, lit candles under a graffiti mural of the spaceman's face. Music and farewell tributes from travelers remain. Kiss-era musicians understood that ACE had erased part of their own memory. ACE started off as a Bronx kid with a cheap guitar and a desire of performing beneath the lights. Before Kiss existed, a guy made his own destiny and became the spaceman. The flame that built an empire. Ace Frehley was born in the Bronx on April 27, 1951. The Dutch-born electrical engineer father and German Cherokee mother played piano and adored classical music. 3 youngsters in the household played instruments. They always heard guitars, organs, and local radio in their modest apartment. Ace wrote in his memoir No Regrets that he was nurtured on music and power. He got his first electric guitar for Christmas at 13. Ace learned without any training by studying album covers and copying his idols' hand postures. Jimi Hendrix, Jeff Beck, The Who, and the Rolling Stones shaped him. A high-energy, instinct-driven playing style, the spaceman sound, emerged from those influences. The Bronx was rough in the late 1960s. Small clubs were the only places young guitarists could shine. Ace played in school bands like Outrage, For Roses, and Malamo before signing with RCA in 1971. The project flopped monetarily, but he learned recording studio and production procedures. He later joined Cathedral, a classic rock cover band, and made a living playing music. His friend Chris Cassone offered him a Little Village voice classified ad for Seek's strong-styled lead guitarist in late 1972. Ace auditioned at 10 East 23rd Street with his Les Paul and two mismatched sneakers, red and orange. This image became legendary. Paul Stanley later remembers entering with one red and one orange shoe. We knew he was the one then. The audition was under an hour. Ace's raw, confident, and natural solos delighted Gene Simmons and Peter Criss once the band invited him. Kiss was born in early 1973. Ace created silver makeup with a star around his eye, inspired by sci-fi and space travel movies. The spaceman became his second ego and a stage icon. Kiss, featuring Cole Gin and written by Ace, was Kiss' 1974 debut album, a gritty streetwise rock song. Alive, released in 1975, propelled Kiss from stage act to pop cultural superstar. Critics said Ace's solos on that album were Les Paul's language. New Year's Eve 1976 in Florida was a pivotal occasion in his career. At a performance, Ace touched an unwound metal railing and was electrocuted. He passed out on stage. His recovery allowed him to finish the show. Shock Me on Love Gun was inspired by that near-death experience. Thank you for living, he remarked later. Ace was crucial to Kiss by the mid-1970s. He created the band's heavy, uncontrolled sound. His name got the greatest shouts on tours, and his smoke-shooting guitar solos were famous. Ace felt trapped behind the alien persona's silver paint. He said stage lights were sometimes too bright to see me. Ace Frehley went from a Bronx child who loved Hendrix to the spaceman, an icon of American music. That picture became his mask, separating him from himself. As stardom peaked, Ace felt lost amid the light. Over the stormy decades, Ace Frehley released his debut solo album in 1978. Developed with Kiss's other 3 solo albums. His was the only one triumphant. The platinum record peaked at 26 on the Billboard 200 and sold over 1 million copies. Cover of Russ Ballard's song New York Groove reached number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100 is a hit. His guitar tone combined raw rock grit with free-flowing emotion, attracting global media attention. In an Eddie Trunk interview, Ace said Gene and Paul misjudged my solo CD. The artist's quick reply showed his conflict between self-assertion and band discord. His solo breakthrough strengthened his confidence, but upset Kiss's delicate equilibrium. Left the band after the 1982 Creatures of the Night tour. Later interviews revealed that he left Kiss because it had become a commercial machine far from the music he loved. The press release blamed creative differences. He went from founder to outsider. Ace returned in 1984 with Anton Fig and John Reagan for Frehley's Comet. He built a typical hard rock band that prioritized live performance over stage antics. After a few years, the group discreetly disbanded due to its moderate popularity. Had difficult personal years beyond music. Alcoholism, a 1983 automobile crash, and repeated hospitalizations plagued him. He stated, "Don't blame anyone," in his 2011 memoir No Regrets. I realized I had to leave to survive. The message was clear from a man who had achieved the top and knew that true freedom often requires leaving everything familiar. Later, Paul Stanley was forthright about that time. Ace was excellent on stage, but unstable off. Gene Simmons called him unpredictable genius. Even if they were harsh, those comments understood that Ace's volatility gave Kiss its soul. Ace declared himself sober in the early 1990s. He returned to smaller stages at independent rock festivals and recovered focus. He became popular with younger musicians who saw him as a beacon of individualism and artistic courage. In an MTV interview, Paul said, "I love Ace, but I can't save him. The sentences were true and sad, reflecting the emotional distance between two guys whose friendship molded rock history. Together, they created legend. The one chose stability, while the other sought independence. Ace calmed down in the mid-1990s. Several rock anniversary events saw him speak more measuredly about Kiss. The tension eased as their distance grew, leaving only echoes of their lively past. Kiss' 1995 MTV Unplugged appearance surprisingly rekindled media interest. The Peter Criss performance brought back memories of the old lineup. Audience response was phenomenal, and the band's management saw a historic reunion coming. Ace's return was discussed privately by Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. Despite no agreement, it was the first time they had sat together in almost a decade. Ace Frehley, a former outsider, was being lured back into the mystique he worked to leave behind. After old hostilities seemed to have subsided, the 1996 invitation to reconnect launched a new chapter where prior breaches were dusted over but never really mended. Kiss reunited in its original lineup for the 1996 Alive Char Worldwide Tour. One of the decade's largest musical events, it grossed over $143 million and put the band back on the map. On stage, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Ace Frehley, and Peter Criss reminisced about their glory days. They revived memories for millions who saw Kiss explode in the 1970s with their legendary makeup. But under the stage lights, old tensions returned. The meticulously planned reunion was a financial success, but it was accompanied by lengthy talks over image rights, money sharing, and most importantly, Ace's spaceman character. Ace saw Kiss as a creative place, whereas Gene and Paul saw it as a corporate brand. He felt his freedom was gone. The tour was a huge success, but inner problems surfaced. Ace left long-term commitments because profit sharing was unjust. After the tour, everything ended, leaving a financially successful but spiritually broken reunion. Kiss was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2014. Rage Against the Machine guitarist Tom Morello said, "These four individuals turned rock into a show." The four members accepted the award without performing. Paul briefly discussed their inseparable history while Ace praised fans, saying, "You keep Kiss alive." They stood together in peace for the last time. Some years later, hostilities rose again. In 2023, Paul Stanley said on Howard Stern that if individuals look like Kiss but sound like that, we should call it Piss. The reference to Ace and Peter, former band members, was largely interpreted as a jab. Ace hit back on Trunk Nation, and I want Paul to apologize publicly within 7 days. If not, I'll expose some secrets. The comment dominated rock media for days. Fans debated whether Ace had explosive Kiss secrets. He lowered his voice a week later. His statements suggested that he still had wounded but no longer wanted war. Ace rejected all reunion offers after that. His invitation to rejoin Kiss for anniversary tours was denied. Refused to let Tommy Thayer wear his identity symbol, the spaceman outfit. Paul Stanley kept his distance. While discussing their relationship in 2019, he remarked, "I still adore ACE, but we live in different worlds." Not an ending, just an acknowledgement that they had diverged. One sought brand durability and consistency. A free artist, the other focused on his guitar and little stages that marked his sincerity. Paul occasionally revered Ace, considering him an original piece of the puzzle and the soul of early Kiss. Ace stated in his final interviews that he would never cut off Paul and Gene. Though they no longer walked together, each man's life echoed the other's. Their connection was brightest and heaviest from 1996 until 2019. Reunited, they stood in the spotlight again before drifting apart in silence. They penned Kiss's final chapter, about legacy and fracturing, under the stage lights and their conflicts. Kiss One Gone One Speaking's two have left lasting music marks. Paul Stanley believes Ace Frehley's legacy includes eternal guitar riffs and the reminder that every legend starts with a flaw. Share your favorite Ace Frehley moment if you grew up with Kiss. Love, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more rock legend stories. Spaceman's journey may have ended, but admirers worldwide cherish his songs and legacy.